is anxiety. Don't think of it as an emotion. It's a stress response to fear. Don't look at how to get rid of anxiety. Think of what's your relationship with fear. And that's how I discovered, wow, that's the emotion that I try to outrun, and I do it by trying to meditate or doing yoga or running or physical or whatever. I need to learn how to be with fear and be my own best friend when I feel fear, so that it just comes and goes just like any other emotion.
Welcome to the Funny in Failure podcast, a podcast that celebrates failure and shines the light on the emotional side of comedy and life with yours truly, Michael Kahan. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Today's conversation is one of the most extraordinary stories I've ever heard. It's a story of resilience, reinvention, and finding your way back to yourself. To give a quick snapshot, Nathan became world famous as a child guitarist. He battled leukemia, met music legends like Michael Jackson, B.B. King, and Mark Knopfler, to name a few. He experienced the highs and pressures of fame, walked away from music to eventually become a brickies laborer, and then he eventually found his way back to the stage. It's an incredible journey, but it's the lessons behind it that make this conversation so powerful. It's very inspiring to hear. We also dive deep into Nathan's mental and physical health journey. The story he shares about a practitioner who helped change his life is remarkable, and the wisdom he gained through his darkest period is genuinely inspiring. His life is unlike anything else, and the perspective he's earned is something I think will stay with you long after this episode ends. Nathan is also touring his show, Growing Pains, where he shares his story publicly for the first time. It sounds amazing. If you'd like to check it out, the links are in the episode notes below. You can also check it out on his website as well. This is one you won't want to miss. Okay, let's introduce today's guest. Nathan Cavaleri is an Australian guitarist, singer-songwriter, and screen composer. From child prodigy to cancer survivor, from global stages to mental health collapse, Nathan Cavaleri lays bare an extraordinary journey. By the age of 12, Nathan was the center of a bidding war between the labels of Michael Jackson, Prince, and Madonna. By 16, he toured the world with B.B. King, played the Kennedy Center in front of the Clintons, and shared the stage with icons like Etta James, Bonnie Raitt, all while becoming a familiar face to millions across Australia and the US. So as you can imagine, we dive deep and we cover a lot, and we chat about being world famous as a child, performing with Michael Jackson, his famous Twitch streams, intuition, bad mentors, his crazy health journey, and getting out of his dark period, facing your fears, bullying, practitioner that saved his life, love of music, plus plenty more. Before we get into this epic chat, I'd love it if you would share the podcast around, tell your mates, like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the podcast grow and helps ensure I can lock in amazing guests like this one. Okay, cool. Thanks so much. Let's get into it. There are like 5 places we could start, but now that I've actually seen your room, I believe this is where you do, obviously you do music there, but do you do Twitch there as well?
Yeah, this is where I stream on Twitch and TikTok live. So
Nice.
it's responsible for many, many hangs and good times, and also some, just real candid, real moments where I might come back from a tour, and I'm on my usual stream and I'm not having a good day. And so we're essentially just mates hanging out, and we create lots of random jams, and I've built lots of great memories live streaming over, it's probably been the better part of 5 years now.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
What got you into it? Because it's still like a newish concept as well.
Yeah, well, I was actually sitting next to one of the biggest gamer Twitch streamers that we had at the time in Australia when I was giving a talk for the Starlight Foundation. And I've always been interested in different ways to use social media to connect with various communities, and and his name is Pestily, and he plays Tarkov. He's known for playing Tarkov anyway.
Okay.
And he's like, mate, you should jump on Twitch. Like, it's not just for gamers, like musicians, anybody in the arts. And I was like, nah, I can't spin another plate. Like, I'm doing so much on social media, and it's really hard to to measure whether it's worth it. Like it's in what you get back to sustain that type of investment of time. And one big thing that sold me on it, he said, it is the only platform other than Patreon where people can financially support what you do. So, and I was like,
Ah,
all right, because I love social media. I love putting out and connecting and all of that, but you got to pay your bills as well. So I was like, all right, and it went bonkers. It for that first couple of years, it went absolutely nuts. It was
wow.
responsible for me being able to take 3 months off to make my album.
Whoa, how
Yeah.
cool.
And I just streamed the whole experience. I just ran the camera live while I was making music in the studio.
Is that a different feeling to performing live? Because when you're performing live, you're in the room, but now this is being recorded for potentially forever. Or is it similar for you?
Uh, it was actually quite similar live, because I'm not like, there's just an other, even though that I'm looking at fonts like people typing, but they are people. So
Yeah.
I I am kind of in performance mode. Where it was a bit tricky is when you're creating music that's recorded to put out, you're gonna have some phases where you're where you're gonna feel a bit vulnerable, and you wouldn't normally experience that, bless you,
Sorry.
in
Thanks.
front of people.
Yeah.
And so I really had to let go of that. It taught me a lot, actually. So until it got
Ooh.
to a point where I was like, no, they're just mates hanging in the studio, and I got to be comfortable making it an ass of myself.
That is amazing because there's always a vulnerability, even like just a conversation, but to allow everyone in as well. And what's the journey there? Did it take you a long time to,
It
feel
took me
comfortable?
a little bit, because the creative process is sometimes really slow and tedious and repetitious, and so there's this voice in my head that's like, they're getting bored, you're going to lose viewers. And and then and, and then also there'd be no chat happening. So I'm like, damn, I've lost them. And then I'll just say it to the camera. I'm like, am I boring you guys? And then all these people go, dude, this is so fascinating. We've been loving watching you torture yourself and struggle for the last
Yeah.
hour. And I'm like, okay, all right, you're sadists.
No,
Yeah,
but sorry for interjecting. That is really interesting to see because, most people just see the finished product. To actually
yeah,
see the process of you doing it, that's very exciting.
yeah.
Even
And I
if you
think,
don't,
yeah,
you
I
go.
think if I had to brand it though accordingly, because there are going to be people that are just, they don't want to see that, and they don't want to go along on that journey with you. So as long as your stream is says what it's going to be, then they'll just come back to the stream that is they're more interested in.
Yeah.
It's if I didn't label it, I probably would have lost some people. So and I actually found it quite fulfilling creatively, because it
Ooh.
brought out different types of versions of myself that can be a little hard to bring out when I'm just alone.
That's so interesting. And did it kind of remove, once you kind of embraced it, did it remove a bit of the pressure?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. It became fuel, actually.
Go on.
Hmm?
Go on. Like, how was it fuel?
Oh, fuel. Because it's like sometimes you can get just a little bogged down by yourself, and you get in your own way. So when you got people going, dude, don't touch it. It's fine as it is. It's like
Yeah.
amazing. And you don't just have one person, you have 20 people all saying it, then it really helps to guide you, and you get that instant feedback, which I think is really important. And it gets you really clear on knowing, like, your when is it your own compass stepping in. So if 20 people go, don't touch it, and you're
Of
still going,
course.
no, I'm going to touch it, and you feel really strong, so strong that you're going to overpower 20 plus people, then it's something you've got to listen to, because that's you. That's your own creative intuition kicking in there. And then you'll do it, and then they'll all go, ah, I see.
That is difficult. That is a lifetime of
Yeah.
like work on ourselves because, and we'll talk about it and how you started and all of that stuff. You can have so many different voices and say you need to do this, but often, and every single artist I've spoken to, they're like, oh, I don't think that's right, but they do it because we think this person's more senior or they're the expert. We can be swayed in a different
Yeah.
direction. And then, maybe you produce something, it could be small, it could be large, and you look at it like, oh, why didn't I honor
Yeah.
myself? But sometimes we don't even allow ourselves to have that conversation. I know
Mm-hmm.
intuition's very big on yourself. So has this process also helped you come back to your intuition and also, I guess, self-awareness and how you are as a performer and how you
Yeah.
think about it?
That's definitely helped 100%. And also it's a great way to clean out shitty beliefs, because when you get an asshole that pops in the chat and goes, your guitar's great, but your voice sucks. And if that hurts you, what I learned is that all that's doing is mirroring a shitty belief that you still have within yourself. Because if you didn't believe it even slightly, it wouldn't bother you that somebody said that. Like if somebody says to me, your guitar playing sucks, I'm like, okay, that's great. Like it doesn't do anything for me. Not because I think I'm the best guitar player. It's just because I'm comfortable with the guitar player that I am.
Yep.
But back then, if somebody said that about my voice, it would cut me up. And that's because there was a part of me that was like, you shouldn't be singing, or it's holding on to old voices or old opinions or something. So it's a great way to find out what's going on, so that you can take those steps to free yourself of that crap.
That is very wise. I've also been on the journey of that, but a lot of people, and there's no judgment, and it's not anyone's better than anyone. I study kinesiology, which is also an
Oh,
aspect of,
nice.
looking at belief systems and self. Whereas before, and probably still am to today, got a lot of work still to do. But if someone was like, "You're shit at podcasting," I would take that more on. But
Yeah.
then you have more conversations. You feel what actually impacts you and what doesn't impact you.
Yep.
Then, as you said, you shared these beliefs. I know you've gone on a massive journey as well, and we're jumping the gun. But
Sure.
one thing that I found, we're going to go everywhere in this chat.
Bring it
But
on.
one thing I found very interesting off your website is that you have a Beyond Fear and Anxiety for performers.
Uh-huh.
Can you tell me a bit about that and why you?
Well, when I went through a really, really dark phase for about 4 or 5 years, where I didn't even think I'd be able to get back up on stage again, let alone go down the road and have a burger with a mate without it being a psychological ordeal. And it's the opposite of how I've always been. So very, very dark period. And I the knowledge that I acquired through the support I got from various practitioners, most of them not being the ones that are in front of you, your everyday
Mainstream.
ones.
Yep.
I thought, if I get to the other side of this, whatever I've learned, I gotta be out there telling my story and passing that stuff on, because and it became evident that I went through what I went through because of a complete lack of education on my inner world of mind and body. And so that's what Beyond Fear and Anxiety, these courses and the workshops I give in schools, are all about. And there's nothing like, most of these lessons that I learned, I was going, why is this not in the Being Human 101 handbook? Like this is none of it made me go, wow, that's fascinating. It was just like, well, duh. Well, yeah. Oh, okay. So that information is probably a lot more available now than what it was back when I was going through it, but it's still not common. Yet it's been around for hundreds of years, if
I,
not thousands,
it frustrates
millions.
me. Gazillions. It frustrates me, and it's something I need to work on because I also write about it in my screenwriting, and I guess it comes about in some aspects in the podcast in
Mhm.
terms of leading someone to live their greatest life, and their greatest life is going to be different to my greatest life, and
Mhm.
you understand what I'm saying. But also, you were a bit of a pioneer at the time because it hadn't really been spoken about as much then as it is now. Did you know it sounded like you knew in the moment that once it would pass or you would thrive, don't know quite the right wording, that you knew you'd be able to talk about this, or was it only with reflection?
Um, yeah, I suppose. I mean, the motivation for me starting to write about it, because I was going through a phase where I was blogging. I was blogging about and journaling my experiences and putting
Nice.
them out. It was just because I didn't want other people who were going through what I was going through to feel alone, and because I felt alone for so long, because I wasn't reading or hearing about other people's experiences and challenges, and it wasn't until I started talking about them that they'd go, yeah, man, I went through that like about 5 years ago, and then they share it, and it made my it just it made me I mean, even just that, just the awareness that what I was going through is actually a pretty normal part of the human experience that came from a misunderstanding of what I was going through. I mean, Wes Carr was one of the first and singer-songwriter artists who having just that one conversation with him made me go, wow, so I'm not stuck. I'm not stuck. I've just got some lessons I need to learn and things I need to apply, and bit by bit I will get through it. So
Can you tell me what happened with that conversation with Wes Carr?
well, the first was just wow. It's been a while. I think
So, yeah.
yeah. I think uh, there was two aspects. One was the physiological aspect of what he had to address within his body biochemically, uh, from a clinical nutrition point of view, and all of the practitioner cousins of clinical nutrition. I fell into the hands of a really great clinical nutritionist and an integrative medicine doctor that just completely transformed me. You know, they got the same blood test results that the GPs gave me. And when I say GPs, I mean obviously an integrated medicine doctor is a GP as well, but the ones that I was seeing and interpreted it completely differently. You know, I had one that was saying, well, five that were all saying your bloods are fine, but then I'd send them to my clinical nutritionist and the integrated medicine doctor, and they'd go, dude, your body's not working for you. No wonder you feel the way you feel, and put me on protocols that all these lights are going back on again. And I'm starting to, all of a sudden, I'm getting my first 7 hours sleep, beautiful, like good quality sleep. And I hadn't had that in about 4 years
Whoa.
because of insomnia. I'd average 2 to 3 hours a night trying to function like that. And not to mention all the weird hyperglycemic gut stuff, you know. So we bonded over that, which reinforced that I was heading in the right direction. But then it was also just learning how to face fears. The idea that he also went through a phase where his adrenals couldn't handle that type of pressure that comes from touring and performing, and even just the psychology that, and the mental rabbit holes and all of that stuff. So and then yeah, I just get these nuggets of knowledge from lots of different people when I talk to them, whether it's podcasts. I think podcasts were really valuable for me. One of my favorites was Tara Bruck, Radical Acceptance. She has a book called Radical Acceptance, and she's Buddhist, Western but Buddhist background, and so her weekly podcasts, you know, that, or Tim Ferriss, or you know, they're all out there, and I just get little bits and pieces, and and then of course my psychologist and my own doctors and stuff. So yeah.
Thank you for telling us that. And this is really exciting to me because I think you're going through, as you said, mental health. Lack of sleep will cause anyone on the planet to go mad. Obviously, it's a form of torture in a
Yeah.
sense. There was a bit going on. We'll talk about also a bit of your upbringing as well. But, just adding to what you said, your doctor said that you were fine. And then you're like, but I'm not feeling fine. And sometimes that can be the worst feeling in the world because you know something's wrong. You almost want something to be wrong because it doesn't make sense how you're feeling.
Mate, 100%. That's one of the stories I share in the Growing Pains show is getting what I felt like was the worst news from a doctor after trying to find the reason for why I was feeling the way I was feeling for 4+ years, for them to come back and go, your bloods are perfect, you're fit, you're healthy, you're fine. It's like, wow, no answer means I'm stuck like this. And I really feel for those who have succumbed to, like, who walk around with the belief that whatever practitioner they are seeing, that they know it all. And so then that means the weight and the pressure of their words is just is insane. So when that doctor says this is all we can do, there's no way out, essentially, no wonder people are losing hope. And I can understand why they get pushed towards the abyss. And I was close to it myself, because no answers means I'm stuck. Like it's stuck in this psychological, physical torture. It's just and that's another reason why I share my experiences.
I love that. And I think that's so important because regardless if you want to do integrative, modern, what I don't even know what these terms are anymore because or you want to do both, whatever. To think that one person in the world has all the answers, people make mistakes. Also, I think we're actually quite underdeveloped. I know everyone thinks like we know everything. We basically know nothing about the body. And it annoys me. That's my pet peeve. But it is quite sad. And I think because I also used to be that person where if someone said something and they were an expert, you take it as this is the
Mm.
holy grail, this is the thing. So I'm so glad that you found, someone that could work with you and allow you to thrive. Do you remember when she called or you yeah, no, she called you up or you called her up and she's like, we can
Mm.
your body's not working for you? Can you tell me a bit about that?
Oh, that was like because that was a very low point. I remember crying my eyes out in the car, just going, "I can't live like this anymore." It's just like when you wake up in the morning and you've barely slept and you're having an anxiety attack over whether to brush your teeth before or after having a shower. And I mean that sounds
Oh wow.
hilarious now, but when your brain is that gone and yet the pressures of being an adult still keep like you can't like I can't leave my job. I still have to pay my mortgage. I still have to be a good partner and all these things, get up on stage in front of people in that state. And so when she said, "Oh my God," like it was the voice of an angel. Honestly, it was a voice of an angel, and that hope is what all I needed to just go. All right, I'll do whatever I have to do, and I'll feel however I have to feel if it means, we're gonna get to the bottom of this. So it was really something.
Amazing. I'm hearing so many more of these stories as well. And also from the blood analysis, it's a very different way of looking at it from
Well, yeah,
like it.
I think you got to um when you're getting advice from somebody, they've all been educated in different ways. So they're giving the best. And this is why I also don't subscribe to the like, all fucking doctors are assholes and blah, blah, blah. It's no. I mean, some of them are careless. I know that because, I've got mates who ended up on bipolar meds without just from a GP who hasn't suggested they go see a psychologist or a psychiatrist first. It's like that's care, and only to end up 4 years later going to see a psych that has said you are not bipolar. You should not be on these pills. I mean, that can crush somebody's life. And
Yep.
but on the overall, these whatever practitioner is doing the best in relation to the education that they have, and there's all for me. I believe there's always an answer out there, and so if you're not getting results here and you're doing everything you can and you've given it enough time, then go over here. Like I'm alive because of mainstream medicine going through leukemia, so I really took on everything that those practitioners would say as biblical until it didn't work anymore. So it was a scary thing for me to walk out on the only solution that was given to me, which was antidepressants. And I gave myself a deal, which was 12 months. 12 months of try stuff that you trivialize, that you think is not going to work, right? Because you're in this position because you're not trying things, because you're thinking the only people who know are here. Well, that's not working for you. So you got to challenge everything now and have a go. And so I gave myself 12 months. If I don't have progress, then I'll come back and I'll go on the antidepressants. And that was the best decision I made.
That's very courageous of you because, as you said, you knew one way. And also, I just want to say everyone's medicine is different. My medicine, what works for me, might not work for you and
Totally.
for someone else. And I used to be like, no, this is the only way. And I think that's ridiculous. We've all got different life experiences, upbringing, different things going in our body. There are so many different ways to heal and grow,
Yeah.
but also very courageous of you to kind of take that almost leap of faith, given that it wasn't quite in your world at the time.
Yeah. It was scary because for me, also at that point, that was the only uh, offer of relief of torture for 4 years. So it was like, I could take this pill and it can make it easier for me. And but there was just something in my gut that was like, no, you need to find out
Oh,
why
wow.
it's happening. Because I just didn't believe that would get me anywhere. It made me give me a little bit of relief. I was also a bit worried about what it would do to my connection with creativity and because I play from the heart, I play from my emotions. So if I've got something that it might be influencing that, what is that going to do? And it might not have done anything, I don't know, but I think there's enough fear along with the intuition to go, no, move in this direction. uh, and it's a lesson in trusting your gut. Yeah.
Mm. And I'm sure that would have profound impact also in your career as well, because
Hmm.
you're really forced to listen.
Yeah.
And okay, I love this. This is amazing. And I've written down like 5 points as you were speaking as well. I think you also saw a spiritual life coach, and you also did surfing as well. Were there other things that you did, and how did these things help you?
Meditation was a huge one.
Yes.
Meditation and I meditated wrong for years, and that's why I was like, nah, this is garbage,
Yep.
until I actually got a proper coach who
Ah,
educated me on the idea of thinking about more of mindfulness, like learning how to be and sit with thoughts, allowing them to just be, not getting involved in the conversation in the head, and allowing emotions to move through you, allowing physical sensations to just be. It really, because I what used to happen is I go, oh, I'm starting to get anxious. All right, I need to allocate some time to meditate to try and calm down and get rid of the anxiety, right? And then, but as I now know, whatever you resist persists. So the idea of meditating to outrun something is literally how you make it worse.
yep.
And I
Yep.
get out of my meditation and go, I'd be good for maybe a little bit of the meditation, then I'd snap back to where I was. If not, it'd be even worse. And so the act of meditating properly taught me how to not only be with myself in healthy ways as an observer, but it eventually got me to a point where I lost the fear of myself, because I
Oh,
that's what I realized was a big thing is you can have the preference not to feel a certain way, right? Like I prefer not to feel sad, but I don't fear sadness. And because I don't resist it when it comes, then sadness flows through me. I feel sad and then I release it. Same thing with anger. It's like if I'm angry, I'm angry. Like it's and I might go punch a bag or whatever. Like it's and then that anger is gone as quick as it came. But fear is something I did not like to feel, and I hated feeling it. So I try and do everything I can to outrun it. And when you trying to outrun the feelings of fear, that's how you end up in an anxious spiral. And that's what I subscribe to that philosophy, which many doctors and which wasn't common knowledge at the time, is anxiety. Don't think of it as an emotion. It's a stress response to fear. Don't look at how to get rid of anxiety. Think of what's your relationship with fear. And that's how I discovered, wow, that's the emotion that I try to outrun, and I do it by trying to meditate or doing yoga or running or physical or whatever. I need to learn how to be with fear and be my own best friend when I feel fear, so that it just comes and goes just like any other emotion.
oh, I needed to hear that. That's amazing. So now when you recognize fear,
Yep.
what's the little dance with it now? Are you able to, it sounds like you're a master with it. Are you able to hear what it's saying, look at it and go, I need to work on this or do this?
Well, fear, and this is what I teach in my workshops, is first of all, I like the first step is learning how to be the observer of your thoughts and your beliefs. Right? You can't do shit if you are the thoughts and beliefs. What
Yep.
I mean is you if you're just a walking reaction and you are the story that is created in your head, and you don't even know that that story is there, then it's you can't do anything about that. But as soon as you are aware, hey, this is a story. Hey, these are feelings or whatever. Now you're the observer. Now you are like you're running a business. You're the manager overseeing all the employees, right? Now you have a choice on how to respond to that version of yourself. Then the second step is so once you're that observer, is all right, well, how am I going to meet and deal with this? And so what I discovered is I had a unhealthy perception of what fear was. I had branded fear as Godzilla, as this monster, because that's from the point of view of I don't like to feel it. It's ruining my life. It's causing this destruction, blah, 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 right? That's a monster. And as long as you're dealing with a monster, you're going to try and outrun that monster, right? And I was like, well, fear has some good, right? Like it protects us. And then it hit me. I was like, fear is just our protector. But its job is not its job is not to see all the good, right? The reason why it messes with our lives is because we believe everything it says. It's constantly threat scanning. That's what it's doing. That's what its job is, to protect you. So then I think, well, what's another way I could perceive fear that would inspire a healthier response to it? And I'm like, wow, this is like somebody in my life who is consistently trying to protect me, that worries all the time, an overprotective parent, right?
That's
And that right there, when fear arises within me, now I'm dealing with an overprotective parent that loves me so much, that just wants me safe. And then that's how I respond to myself when I'm afraid. I respond by listening to it, allowing that fear to be there, just like hear it out. Sometimes it just needs to be expressed, and then relate to it with reassurance. Here are some reasons why you don't need to be afraid. You've felt this before, but remember, it didn't pan out. Blah, 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 blah. You have a healthier narrative with the self, and it disappears.
okay. I love that. And your course is in the episode notes below, so people
Well,
can.
yeah, I'm developing it, so you can register your interest, and it's close. The first of the courses is real close to being finished,
Nice.
and then but there's a second part to it, which is the add-on for performers. But when I say performers, like I'm using music as an example in this course, but performers of all kind, whether you're running podcasts, whether you're a teacher, whether you're in sport, there's lots of areas of life where you are performing, and yeah, and it's that time. So yeah.
That okay, that's so awesome. I think that's amazing. And we were talking about this at the start. Did you ever think going through the no sleep, the anxiety, I know there were performance anxieties as well, all of this and more, that you would ever get to a stage where you are now?
No, no, at that time I thought I was absolutely stuck. There's no way in the world that I ever believed that I would be able to get beyond that. I thought that's how life was going to be. And that's also because most people who struggled with it never got beyond it, and they were struggling. I'd have people saying, yeah, man, I've been struggling with that for like 20 years, 30 years. It's like just doom and gloom. But all I needed was just those little wins. I remember seeing a YouTube clip of Dr. Joe Dispenza, which I'm sure you like, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But it was a simple clip on neuroscience and neuroplasticity, and that's how I was introduced to the term neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change itself, and that you can consciously make that change. And that's what made me go, wow, like you're never actually truly stuck. Like I need to pay a little bit more attention to how I want to feel rather than focusing on how I don't want to feel. And when I have that as a goal, then I'll know what to do to get there. And you can retrain your brain in lots of different ways to feel how you ultimately want to feel. And it's just a habit. I mean, we practice and ingrain and create those freeways in the brain every day. Bad habits that are
Exactly.
unchecked, right?
We're always like, oh, this isn't going well. This isn't happening. I'm feeling this way. We don't necessarily focus on the positives. It's a muscle. And
Yeah.
we have to, and I'm not just saying like blindly, like positivity, just I'm amazing, I'm amazing. But as you said, you can change kind of the thoughts in your mind.
Yes,
It's a muscle. It's like going to the gym.
I
And
know.
I've seen profound impacts doing that as well, because it's also so much in conversation. It's not typically, you can just go, oh, how's your day been? If you're speaking to someone, we focus on the negatives, and I don't like that. So someone like Joe Dispenza is a godsend that can
Oh,
help
isn't
us.
he amazing? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You're obviously a very resilient person as well. And maybe we'll backtrack a little bit. When you were like 5 or 6, you were diagnosed with leukemia, which is crazy.
Mm.
And some of the stories that you said were horrific. But it's also amazing to hear that while you're going through maybe one of the lowest points in your life, or something you don't wish upon anyone, you're also having some of the best times in your life as well. I don't know if you've ever been able to see, that kind of perspective where you're like traveling, you're meeting Michael Jackson, meeting all these
Mm.
people, but while you're also struggling, Can you also give us a bit of a context of what was going on at that time?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people thought that it was just too much pressure to put on a kid going through leukemia because I was being treated while those amazing epic experiences were happening. I'd be going through treatment and then
That's
but have to practice for a performance on Hey Hey It's Saturday or touring with BB King. By the time I toured with BB King, I was in the all clear. But there's still a big portion where I was still going into hospital. But it was a real lesson in purpose, because if you've got light in your life, if you've got something that you're really excited about or you're passionate about, you will move mountains to get there and blaze through whatever you got to blaze through. And and without that, I'm not sure whether I would have had the same fight, because I'm a firm believer that there's our minds need to be and our minds slash emotions need to be on board when you are fighting a disease like that. It's not just it's 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 not just a physical, um, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's not just a physical battle.
It's a whole thing as well, because if we're just purely focusing on that, it's also a way to give you relief. Music's healing, giving you purpose, something else to focus on,
Yeah.
something that you're passionate about.
Yep.
It's also crazy at such a young age that you found that. We'll get onto that in a sec. But isn't it, to me, I was thinking about this, well, in the lead up to this, but to go through something like that, you're getting injections in your spine, you're going through massive pain, you're probably exhausted, and then you are like you're probably the only person on the planet that has had such a unique journey like this in the world. Not that we're going to compare you to anyone else. And then you're meeting all these people, you're having the time of your life in some sense. How do you put that into words?
It's, I mean, for me, it just felt like normal life, which is weird.
Yeah.
Like at that age, you don't really question whether what you're going through is normal. Like it's just, you just accept it for what it is. And so it literally felt like that. Okay, cool. We're at the I mean, the lumbar punches and the needles and all that type of stuff were very traumatic, and I had to do a lot of work to release those types of traumas from my body and
Like
my mind and stuff like that. But
later in life,
yeah,
yeah.
much later, I didn't even realize that they still had an effect on me until like probably only 3-4 years ago. And so I think, but the music also was just the act of self-expression, like being able to like, now I know what I know about how important it is to allow emotions to come and go so they're not trapped in the body and fester and warp your experiences moving forward. That the act of playing guitar and getting up on stage and putting all of that aggression, all of that fear, all of the sadness or whatever into the music was the catalyst for me being able to digest emotions in a healthy way.
Nice. Can we talk about, is this how you got your start? By the way, I've got so many questions that are
Yeah.
going to like spring to mind. I think this is so cool, and also your reflections and how you've learned and
Yeah.
how you're willing to look at your belief systems. Amazing. Did it kind of start from, what was it, the Starlight Foundation, where you were asked what do you want or what's your
Hmm.
dream? Can you tell me about how that came
Yeah. Well,
about?
the Starlight Foundation granted me the wish to meet Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits. And so that there was, when I had that experience, that was covered by the Today Show. And then it just spread throughout the whole, like, all media outlets. And then I became a regular on programs like Hey Hey It's Saturday and the Midday Show. And then I was signed, and then I ended up on tour with Jimmy Barnes and Diesel. And then I was brought to the States, and that's how everything in the States happened for me right up until I was about 14. And so it didn't stop. Yeah.
I like how you just like skim like, oh, I toured with two of Australia's greatest musicians. I
Yeah,
went to the,
yeah.
for the non-Australian listeners, Hey Hey It's Saturday's the biggest show in Australia.
Yeah.
Also, there's not many shows, so everyone probably recognizes you or knows your name
True.
as well. This is like super fame
Yeah.
level in Australia as well. And you're like, yeah, I just did that. You're a very humble guy. But was it through that allowed that got you discovered, or was it maybe through busking and other things that got your
No,
name up?
it was definitely through Hey Hey and the midday show. Like it's I mean the viewership of that was huge. I mean I went to the doctors this morning and the nurse there is like, "You were on Hey Hey at Saturday." Like it happens every week.
I still
Still,
that's
it's just nuts.
crazy because there's no other show like that in Australia where you'll be recognized. And what was that, like 30 something years ago?
Yeah. So I was 7, 8. Yeah, I think I was 8 years old when I was on Hey Hey for the first time, and Daryl Summers reached out to me not too long ago and gave me a DVD of all of the episodes I was on,
Whoa.
and there was like 15 episodes that I was on, and when I was kind of skimming through it, and I was skimming through it because I can't watch myself, and and but I'm like, wow, you can literally see me grow, like because it was from the age of 8 to like 16, and so it's no wonder when people say we watched you grow up, they literally did.
Hilarious. And what's that like? Because when I reflect on myself as a young person, I still am, it's hard to kind of put that in perspective because you're so different to that person. And you mentioned that it's hard for you to look back at that time as well or to re-watch you. How do you kind of put that into perspective? Do you see like that's you, or do you see a version of yourself? How do you kind of put that into perspective?
Yeah, I've had an interesting relationship with my past because going through that level of success came with a lot of social challenges when I was going through school, and I wasn't always confident and proud of who I was. For a long time, I just buried who I was, and which is a part of what I talk about in this show, Growing Pains, and uh, I'd say in general, my past has at times inspired me, but also haunted me in various ways. Whether it is to be embarrassed, but then once I got beyond the embarrassment and started to be proud of what I had achieved, then the past becomes this bar that's set that if I'm not achieving similar things as what I was in the past, then I'm falling short. So it can be a bit of a wrestle, but the awareness that there is a relationship with your past and knowing when you're actually when it's empowering you or disempowering you is the best thing, really.
Oh, okay. I've written even more points. Let's see how we go. Um, you mentioned your interesting relationship at school, and I know that you were bullied also by teachers, which is crazy. I believe a lot of it would have been probably tall poppy syndrome. And I know that you're on Australia. I can see you nodding. Australian story where a bully did something pretty horrific to you and then just said, well, that's kind of how it goes,
Yeah.
being the famous kid as well. That wouldn't have been a lot of fun in the moment. But adding another layer to that, you mentioned that you weren't necessarily proud of who you are and maybe your music. I forget how you phrased it. Was that a internal thing or an external thing, or you thought because people, is it a tall poppy syndrome thing? Where do you
Yeah, I
think that?
think I just probably eventually adopted the beliefs of the minority, until I thought that that's how everybody thought of me.
Yeah,
And um yeah, it was as simple as that. Right? It's like I always fought back. Uh, but I wasn't really aware of the psychological damage it was doing to me
interesting.
until much later.
And then when you have not only peers but when teachers are bullying you, I'm sure you would have found that very confusing as
Yeah,
well. Even
because
if
the teachers and the adults are the ones that are supposed to be
it's
uh,
just so
your
ridiculous.
the teachers that you're supposed to look up to them. They're supposed to be role models and everything. But when you've got a teacher standing you up in class because you don't know the answer and in front of your mates, instead of going, all right, you haven't done your homework, like here, go and write some lines, she would go, well, of course you don't know the answer. Maybe you would if you didn't spend so much time touring with all your friends, like
Oh my god! Like you living your
it's
passion, and
I
also you have cancer. First of all, it's not an
yeah,
excuse for
true.
cancer or no
And
cancer,
that
but
as well, like she was caught binning student votes for me to be prefect and captain, and her
that's
justification was I had enough attention, but it wasn't the attention that I was after. I was after a sense of belonging. I was away from school because I was battling leukemia, and yeah, touring as well. But when you when that happens, you do feel alienated because you keep coming back to the school environment where maybe you're no longer a part of a friend group, and it's not about attention. So she was a real piece of work.
I'm sorry that you had to go through that, but I'm sure it built in something that I'm not sure, maybe some form of resilience. But
Oh, resilience all the
yeah,
way, because it over time you develop a confidence that is not so dependent on what other people think.
nice, nice. Sometimes we have to go through horrible things to really
Hmm.
appreciate. And then this springs to mind as well. I think someone wrote, "You're not Jimi Hendrix." There were other bullying things. What's that like when you see someone graffiti? Was it your
Front of the
home?
house, yeah, it was
Yeah.
the whole front brick fence, 6 foot by about 5 meters, was just covered in graffiti. And yeah, it's like, I think it's the idea that your home has been defaced by
And it's your
because of
family and
something.
your
Yeah.
siblings as well. It's
Yeah, yeah. And so they all that's what ultimately led to all of that stuff, led to that collapse of me not wanting to be me anymore. Again, I'd fight, but that's an external thing.
yeah.
I didn't even know that these issues were affecting me psychologically. Yeah.
It's also interesting that you said the minority, because I'm sure most people probably don't care, but they're like, "Oh, that's cool that you're doing that and you're living your dreams." People now would be even more proud going through that as well. But it's the battles that we have, and obviously, when you've got friends doing things like that or teachers bullying you or sway us in a different direction. We also heard you in another interview say that the music at the time that you were doing was like older, so you had a perception that it might be. I think the word
Yeah.
was daggy, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, because like I when I got into blues music and all that type of stuff, like when I got into any music, it's like this wasn't about whether people like it or not. This is about whether I like it. And but then and when you're in primary school, you don't really care too much about whether something's in fashion or not. You're driven
yeah.
by your own desires until then you get to the later part of primary school, going into high school, where it becomes about fitting in and wanting to be included, and which then influences your tastes and your all that. And I started to go, oh well, it's like I love grunge and punk and all of that stuff, but I don't see any blues musicians amongst this that my mates are listening to. So maybe, and then also that kind of came about at a time when the industry did change. Like what was in fashion was starting to adjust, and 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 the doors started to close. So you kind of felt a little discarded.
Oh, can we go to that? You go to America. I think you fill in the gaps. There's a bidding war. You meet Michael Jackson, and I think, which is crazy. Like, surely even now, I know you've probably spoken about this 100 times. A bidding war with, what is it, Prince, Madonna, Michael Jackson. Like, that's something that's not a normal thing
It's
to hear.
wild.
Yeah. What's going What's going on through your mind? How old are you at the time? And
Well, it's normal life for me. The first thing I say is, "Who's Prince?" I don't know who Prince is.
yeah.
I don't know who Prince is. And Madonna, I was like, oh, that's pop. Like, I don't want to be, And then I was like, yeah, okay, Michael Jackson, and kind of be somebody that's blues or whatever. But they were a great label. They really supported our family values as well,
Oh,
and which was good. It was no, it was definitely the right choice. Gave us full creative freedom, and yeah.
I know you've had to speak about this 100 times, but I've just seen the movie and I've heard so many people say what probably you're about to say. You also mentioned family values. I believe Michael Jackson and his team, as you said, were actually very lovely to you, and they honored you even by the end of the merge.
Yep.
Can you give a bit more context to that if you want?
In terms of
Like
the
how they were as a label and how they honored you. You also mentioned family values, and then just because you also you jammed with him. I think you're in a music clip, and oh no, he was like passed out or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. I was supposed to be on stage with him playing Black and White for an HBO special, and he collapsed, and they took him away on a stretcher, and the show got cancelled. But we were very lucky because when he sold the label, and they just didn't want us to get tied in amongst that, and released us. And But just when I say family values, they respected that mum and dad wanted to keep us all together. So we're always traveling together. And when there were record company type moments or whatever, they invite the whole family. Or if they, it's just, it was, and versus other labels. And from what I know, it's like the kid goes with a minder from the label.
Oh,
Like
minder,
it's,
like a
it,
babysitter or something.
yeah. And there's, and they'd pay for one flight for the kid, and that kid would go by themselves and then be minded by somebody from the label. And you can just understand the darker side of the industry. It just becomes a lot closer, and so we were an absolute unit.
Did your family know about that? Because in Australian Story, I think it was your manager. He was aware of the darker side, but you probably didn't know as a kid. Hopefully, but did
Yeah,
your family know about this? Because only stuff is coming out now about the industry. Was it known
totally.
then?
Yeah, I mean, the stuff that's out about the industry now is not what was known back then, but they were they definitely had their wits about them. They knew what creepies would be out there, and even just drugs and all sorts of stuff. So and same thing with my manager. So they were all on the same page with how to protect me and
Oh,
keep
nice.
all that stuff away from me, which is good. And I think we're also lucky enough to fall into the hands of the right people as well, like the right artists that were great mentors and role models. Versus some of the other stories I've heard from young artists that start, they've just fallen into the hands of complete sharks, and I'm
Yeah,
just grateful. I mean, I think the Barneses, like the Barnes family and Diesel,
we've had Diesel
that
on.
was the
Lovely.
start. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was the start, and they taught us so much. They armed us with so much knowledge. I mean, they're just good people. So very lucky. Could
I'm
have been
glad.
anyone.
Yeah, I'm. Well, you honored your family, or you like could feel something. You honored your intuition, made the right decisions. But then during all the Michael Jackson stuff and and you split with the label, did you have an unreleased album with
Yes.
them?
Yeah,
Okay.
and that came about at a time where I was probably on my way down from feeling good about myself. So it wasn't real. It wasn't me, and we probably let go of our creative. Uh, the previous album didn't do as well as what they'd hoped. So then they were kind of like, "Can you do it our way? Let's put you with a different producer." Blah blah blah. And we're like, "All right, well maybe we don't know best." Thing is, in Australia, it would have gone off, and but we had most radio stations were pumping my singles 4 hour rotation, if not more, for months. I was on every program. I was at Hey It's So Late, Midday Show, the Vizard Show, like everything. I was everywhere, and we didn't sell because Mushroom Records and Festival were having a war. And their distributor just went, we're not gonna distribute any of your stuff. So people were going to the stores wanting to buy the album, and there was no stock. And that war went on for the better part of a year. And there were a number of other bands that got stuck in that as well. And then eventually radio stopped because the buzz was over, and we weren't able to capitalize on all that exposure. So it was such terrible timing.
What were you thinking as a young person as well? Because you're just thinking, especially early on, you're thinking about creativity, and now you're being put in this world where it's money
Wasn't
and
aware of it. I didn't know this until later. I was like,
uh,
oh, okay. It's. I was just thinking about the next gig and the next album that we could make, and playing music, and I didn't realize that stuff was happening. I had a rough idea, but I didn't understand how detrimental it would be. Like I didn't understand that could just literally tank my career, and it sort of did, really.
in what regard is that? Because once the Michael Jackson label, you go your separate ways.
Well, yeah, if you're not selling for the record company, then and they're not making money off you, then they're not going to spend any more money on you for the next album. And then like that's it. Like MJ was a little bit different over there because they couldn't, even though it was on lots of the media, they had big ideas on how they wanted to promote this that involved Michael, but it was the same time that the allegations came out. So they're like, we can't have you getting swept up in this. So it was they just did just enough, and that's it. So
That's still pretty cool that they understood what was going on. And, most of these businesses, their businesses, they might be like, forget about the allegations. We want to make money off you. You're staying with us. For them to be like, we want to protect you. I feel like that's most companies in that world at that
yeah,
time
I
wouldn't do
think
that.
yeah, I mean, I think there's probably both. They saw both sides, how to be bad for both, like bad for me and bad for him.
True.
Yeah, but it's funny, like even just amongst all of those allegations, it still didn't stop. He still didn't stop having film clips with him with kids and involving himself in that world. So it was yeah, definitely a really tricky time.
Very interesting. And I want to go back to, so you met all these crazy people. Sorry, we spoke about Mark Knopfler as well,
Yep.
meeting all of these heroes as well. When you were jamming with him, did that install something in you? Like saying that, in your mind, the world's greatest guitarist, Michael Jackson, one of the world's best ever as
Yeah,
well.
I think it's just uh it's all just confidence boosting and encouragement that you're on the right track and it's all just fuel. It's all um it's and you there's all the more subtle lessons that you learn along the way, whether it's like something simple that you don't realize until later, like every single one of those guys and girls were all humble. Like they all were grounded, connected, humble people. Like, like these are the top at the time. Like hanging when I was hanging with Slash, like Slash was just a really cool, nice guy that was
Wow.
just connected. He's talking to you. Um, BB King was the same. Jimmy's the same. Diesel's the same. It's like everyone has their quirks because they live unusually unique lives, and there's a lot of attention, and you can't really compare them and their challenges to just everyday life. It is different.
Very
So
unique.
there are going to be some quirks that I think a lot of people misunderstand for being maybe diva like or arrogant or whatever. But um, they were just yeah, just really nice, grounded, and human.
Very, very well said. So after that happens, you come back to Australia, and I think the love, or mentioned the fear and going through your love of music. Fast forward a few years, I think you decide to become a brickies labourer. What's the difference between a brickie and a brickies labourer? By the way, that just shows my.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
right. Well, the brickies labour is something you got to do before you become a brickie. So you're the one mixing the mud and stacking the bricks so that the bricklayers can lay the bricks. Um,
gotcha.
it's a hard job. I mean,
Yeah,
anybody who you talk to that works in construction will say that's one of the hardest laboring jobs you can have. And I wasn't working residential. I was working uh, like big units, blocks of units. So
yeah.
lots of brickies, lots of like it was intense. It's a full blown hardcore workout from 7 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And but I loved it. I really loved it. Like right from when I was 5 years old, my dad used to take me to work, and I'd just be there with my trowel, like spreading mud on the bricks, and I loved it. I think what made it challenging was I thought that everything amounted to me just having to do this forever, and I had all these skills and passions, and I was like, surely, surely I can use them. Like I can't be doing this, not because it's a bad job. Well, it's a tough job, but like
Not right for
if
you.
yeah, it just was like this is not where my heart's at. So, uh, and and that's what probably took me out of the moment seeing it for what it was and enjoying just being out there under the sun, being active and yeah.
I feel like it would have been important for you, given going through a lot of belief systems, just be so in the moment, because you can't really drift too far when you're really in it, doing such physical labor.
No, but also like I wasn't aware of I was a walking reaction back then. I didn't understand any of that stuff about
Looking
the
reaction, I
thoughts
like
and
that.
emotions and processing. It's like if yeah, I was
You can
just
still heal at levels that you're not aware of, but
true,
yeah, continue. Yeah,
100%. Yeah, I think for me it was
being it.
really great with unprocessed anger. because I could get in there and be angry and just do my work with that anger in me, and it'll be a fuel. So, yeah.
And do you look back at that and see that it was important for your life, your journey?
I see that whole period as important because it got me away from the guitar, because I was told to bury my guitar, and they were like,
Whoa.
nobody likes guitar anymore, so get rid of it, right? So I
Wait, someone actually said that.
yeah,
Don't-
my mentor said that to me at
Your
the time.
what,
Yeah.
what do you mean? Like,
Because
you had to go-
I'd say to him, what do I do now? And he's like, well, nobody really listens to that type of music anymore. I mean, people barely even listen to anything with a guitar in it. So the best thing you do is just bury it and do something else. And but the silver lining is it helped it. I developed all these other musical skills. That's how I learned how to be a producer, a mix engineer, to write songs, to become a screen composer. Like it's I wouldn't have done that if I was just continually going down the rabbit hole of being a better guitar player.
I think that's so awesome as well, because you were known as the guitar player. You know, I know you don't like the word guitar protege, but sometimes, especially because you're excelling at such a young age, you can be told you are the guitar guy, don't do anything else. And then when you know, working on your voice, songwriting, film composer, which is really cool as well. And I know you did all the production stuff as well. Maybe you didn't pick it up as fast as, you know, playing guitar. And there could be a lot of pressure on you internally and externally because you're known to excel so quickly. So good on you for doing that, because it's probably harder for someone like you to try something in that space, because there'll be so much pressure on you. Did
Yeah,
you? Yeah,
100%. And I think the like when it came to singing, that's where a lot of the scars appeared, because I was trying to, because I never wanted to just be a guitar player. Guitar is my original first love, and I love it, right? But I knew there were all these other ways that I wanted to express myself that would require other skills, and one would be singing. So when I saw Diesel up on stage, killer guitar player, amazing vocalist, and I'm like, I want my version of that, please. And so when I started to sing, uh, people would often compare my vocals to my guitar. So because I didn't start singing until I was 14, 15, which is a shit time to sing when your voice is breaking and stuff. And so I just, I got terrible feedback from people. I'd have my mentors, people who I look up to, saying, "Man, you're never gonna be a singer. Don't get somebody else to sing your songs, and that's it." So instead of being encouraging to go, keep working at it, try over here, maybe get somebody else to sing your songs just for a little bit until you get stronger here, blah blah. It wasn't that. And so when I actually became good enough, I still was holding on to the stories that they were telling me. And right up until when I decided to start releasing music under my own name after that long walk through the dark woods. But I was still going, I've got all these songs, I reckon somebody else should sing them. This is in my 30s, right? Like late 30s. And it was all my mates who are incredible singers, Diesel being one of them, going, you are
cool.
bonkers. You have to sing your own songs. Like you're not hearing yourself how everybody else hears you. You need to be on this. And yeah, I'm glad I listened to them.
I'm glad. I love a good Diesel story. He's been on the podcast. I
Yeah.
love him. Very unique. And also, why are these mentors telling you to stop and not do things? Even if they're like, you might not have the world's best voice, keep on continuing. Maybe it's not ready to perform, but to shut it down, I hate that. That is just never play the guitar again. What is that advice? Like you might not need to be the world's best at something, but don't shut someone down.
And and I realize this like much later on in life, is that you can learn a lot from lots of different people, right? But if you've chosen somebody who has a different idea on what success looks like, right? Or like say musically, right? I was listening to a guy who's a pop guy. He's the 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 singers that he loved were the Guy Sebastians of the world, and Guy Sebastian's amazing. I love Guy, right? And if you didn't, but he wouldn't listen to Chris Cornell from Soundgarden. Like he's not listening to Mike Patton from Faith No More or Kurt Cobain or any like he had a very specific style of what that's a good singer, that's not a good singer. So, but I don't want to sound like them. That's not me. And I want to sound like this guy or a version of. And so you've got to, when you're choosing a mentor, choosing who to listen to, you really got to be confident in the fact that they understand what it is you want to achieve in the
Yes.
end. Otherwise, it's pointless. You guys are just speaking different languages.
Exactly. And you would have had this before or heard so many of your peers, and I've heard this so many times where you might get so and so who's got like 100 Grammys as a producer, and then you meet them and it's not the right fit. You just
Had it.
there's
I had it. There was a, I forget what his name was, but we my second album, the first one under Michael Jackson's label, and the the single working on it, which featured Andrew Strong from the Commitments. The producer did the mix for the whole album, and then the manager said, "I reckon we should get the single mixed by somebody else." So they found a Grammy award winning mix engineer who I think did possibly like Aerosmith or it wasn't Kevin Shirley. I forget who it was, but a whole heap of. And he did this mix, and back then they paid like $5,000 for him to mix one song, and that's in 1994, right?
whoa,
It's a lot of money.
yeah.
And we got it back, and I mean, hey, it was a great mix, but not at all the style that we were going for at all. And I know he hated that he had to convince a 12-year-old because the label went, it's up to Nathan, because they also trusted my ears. And because I was making great calls, and the producer was going, yeah, that's a great call. The hi-hat is a bit too loud, or this is whatever. And so they were very collaborative. And when the mix engineer realized it was going to be a no and he wasn't going to get the job, I remember him sitting down with me in the studio, literally arguing with me about his mix decisions and
Oh,
why he was making the decisions that he made. And and still to this day I stand by my opinions.
well, that's great. But also, it's your work. You know, there's a connection that you've got that also a complete outsider doesn't know, you doesn't know of
True.
feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, but I do also understand that sometimes inexperienced ears that are not like can have weird interpretations of things but I know what
I
feedback I was giving him, and I know it was right. Still to this day, I would have given him the same feedback today as an experienced mix engineer.
I agree 100% with what you're saying, but you also probably have less of an ego and a less of external voices then. So if
True.
anything, you're as pure as you can
Yeah, I
be.
was like,
So
I can't
yeah.
even imagine just a 12-year-old just saying it how it is, like, and not realizing, hey, dude, you're talking to a Award winning,
Like a
multiple Grammy
legend.
award winning
Oh,
mix engineer.
that poor guy. No, but
That
he
poor
needed
guy
to
going,
learn
oh,
as well. He needed to learn as well. I want to type a few points before we go back to your Growing Pain show as well. When you came back after the label and you work as a brickies laborer, did you not want to go back into music and maybe call Madonna or call Prince or
I didn't want to go back as me. I loved music. I I was just I just didn't know where to be or what to do. And when I mean what to do is because there was so many voices in my head that were saying what you are and what you like is not right and it has no place here. And and then eventually I was just, you know what? Stuff everybody else. Like screw you all. And I oversteered actually, and I remember having a great meeting with Mark Opitz, producer of In Excess, and he said to me, forget about what everybody's saying. You need to just find a couple of mates where you bond over the music you love and get in the room and have some fun and see what happens. I was like, well, nothing else is happening now. I got nothing to lose. Why don't I just do this? And that's how I met a long term musical partner Cole Hatchman, who was a drummer of Screaming Jets at the time. And he was exactly what I needed. Because he was about waving your own freak flag and who gives a shit about what everybody says. You do you. And he was trying to bring me out of my shell, like, and we rocked hard. It was a really great, exciting time. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I know there's a whole journey there, but also to not use your name and then to, potentially make mistakes and learn
Yep.
from those mistakes.
Lots of them.
So important.
Lots of them.
But and now you under your name, which shows great growth. Is it exciting to look back at that time and be like, I'm glad I could do this, and all of this stuff,
Oh
and it's made.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like that was a really important time because it started me on that path of musical self-discovery. Like up until that point, it was like it was stopped. Like you can't, how can you discover your true self if you're just listening to everybody else around you, and you're just constantly being blocked and stifled? It's like I had to just make mistakes. I had to do what I felt at that time to then realize, oh, that didn't work out, and then you go this way and you go that way, and until, like, that was really pivotal in me finding myself as a front man, as a vocalist. and
Yes.
and that whole, it lasted about 10 years,
Oh
better
wow.
part of 10 years, and we had various different versions of that band, and yeah, it was very important time.
It also sounds like so important for you to just clear a lot of, the external beliefs as well, and you learning more about yourself through this process as well.
Yeah, I mean,
Amazing.
I sometimes wonder, if I didn't have the embarrassment around my name, I probably could have burnt my name by putting out
Ah,
what I was doing under my name. It might have, I think it could have, yeah, created some problems. So in a funny sort of way, it was probably, yeah, it was as it always is. It's meant to be, to find myself, to make those mistakes without it actually um, tarnishing my name is pretty good. Yeah.
I love that. And now you spoke about this before with success and failure. You have a very unique journey or story where, in your teens, you're with all of these, world famous people and the expectations would be very different. And then you went kind of a different path. How has your relationship with success changed? Because I'm sure there would have been a lot of expectations early on, but now it sounds like you've done a lot of work and,
Yeah, I think it definitely has changed. Probably success is more holistic compared to what it was. Like I feel like the people, including myself, idea of success can be so narrow that it doesn't take into consideration what it means in other ways in your life. So like, yeah, you can like achieve, like, hey, let's chew our asses off and just uh grow the biggest audience and sell, whatever. But well, what does that mean for the other parts of your life? Will it actually lead to true happiness? I mean, it's maybe, like, for some, but it wasn't, not for me. So I have to, success, when I'm setting goals to do with various aspects of my life, I always look at how it's going to impact everything else around it. How it's
oh,
going
I
to look
love
at,
that.
how's it going to impact me as a dad, my family? Like, do I have to compromise a little bit here so that this is not compromised? Like, and then that, going down that rabbit hole gets you really clear on what's truly important to you. Like, what can I discard? What's non-negotiable? One big one for me is I need to live a life in music that's sustainable, because I would often go through these phases where everything was about the music. And then when it would fall short, it's like my whole world, it comes crumbling down. And then the idea of like slow burn is like, there'll be phases where you just grind away. Yeah, I get that. But I don't want to look back at 5 years and go, I devoted everything to this one thing, it didn't pay it off, and I missed out on all of this other stuff that was right in front of me. That's just can't happen. So
Great. That is so good because so many people said they got the TV show, the movie, and then that happens. What about all the other areas in their life? And often the conversation around success is just the one thing. And we don't think about the whole,
holistic
the
has to be.
whole.
And
I
it's the
love
same
that.
with your health.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Amazing. Before we go,
Yeah.
you have new shows out, which are in the episode notes below, so people can check it out. Growing Pains.
Yeah.
This is very interesting to me, and we've spoken about a bit about your journey. Is this a talk show, a singing show, a performing show?
Story,
Sorry, what?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's predominantly a storytelling show that also has music that punctuates
Oh,
certain stories, and this came about because I was already telling stories in between some of my songs at my normal shows, and people at the end would go, "I love the songs, but I really want to hear more of those stories. You should write a book, blah blah blah." And I trivialized it because I was like, I don't want to write a book. It's premature, and I felt like it was a bit self indulgent. But then when I was listening to the Resilience Project, Hugh from the
yeah, I heard that one.
Imperfects. Yeah. And when he was asked to write a book, he had the same response. Hey, that's nah. And then he was called out for being selfish. And he's like, why am I selfish for? And his sister, I think it was his sister or no, his partner said that but you're selfish because you're holding back what could entertain and inspire so many people by not sharing your own journey and that really shifted his perception of the idea of writing books. So not only did it shift, hearing that shifted my perception, but it made me go, all right, what, maybe the idea, I'll chip away at writing a book, but for now I think I want to bring it onto to the stage and make this a live experience that
Oh, that's so
families
cool.
can come to as well, just in theaters, not music venues. And it's probably suitable for maybe like 12, 13 plus, just because of some of the topics get quite deep, depending on the nature of your kids. But and yeah, I've never done this before. I've told stories before, but not like really like first person, and it's a whole life journey of all the experiences that um, led me to be who I am today.
One, I'm so glad that we spoke about fear at the start and looking at the fear that would have brought up so much stuff
Mm.
to do something quite different to what you've done.
Yeah,
And then given all of the mental health and you looking at yourself to one, not only tackle it, but then to go from survive to thrive, but then
yeah.
to talk about it, then to present it in this way to the public. That is, I love that.
Oh,
That's
cool.
so exciting. How are you feeling about the shows, given everything that also what we've spoken about? That would be
Yeah.
a small part of the show. It's pretty exciting to
Yeah,
me.
I'm feeling really good about it. It's got the perfect cocktail of fear and excitement at the same time because it's a completely new space. Like I've done lots of talks and workshops and keynotes and stuff like that, but
Ah, cool.
not this type of live experience. It's yeah, it's a theater orientated storytelling show, so it's very new and has uh, I mean, yeah, and there's some really deep moments in there. There's some hilariously awkward moments as well. Like, because
Those are
I
the
went through
best.
puberty in front of the cameras, so I've there's a cracker of a story that as I was writing it, I was like, I can't even believe this happened. Like, this is stuff you just see in the movies, but it actually happened to me, and uh, it's it's been long enough that I can laugh at it now, but it was not
In the
not
moment.
fun at the time.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, but it's like I know, my theory is that we all live our own unique lives, but really when we break it all down, we've got so much in common. So that's why we can learn from each other. And so the goal of this Growing Pains show is have people not only just entertained, but feeling inspired and maybe even a little bit more understood as well. That's what I want them to
Oh,
feel.
that is brilliant. I can already feel it, from having this conversation as well. What states are you touring?
So
Yeah.
right now it's predominantly Victoria. So the first of the shows kicks off yeah on the 20th of June, which is probably in the past now by the time the podcast kicks out up. But
You're
yeah, so
performing right next to me, which is cool.
in Moorabbin, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so predominantly Victoria. We do have two New South Wales shows towards the end of the year, which is Taree and Avoca, but this is just the first phase of the tour. So if it goes well, it will end up going right around the country into 2027. So
Oh, it will go well, not if it goes well.
mm.
Amazing. Anything else before we go and I ask people how they can follow and keep up to date with you? Anything you want to tie up or you
Yeah,
happy
all
to?
I'd probably say is there's obviously a lot of noise out there on social media and everything, so it can be a little bit difficult to let you guys know when I'm performing near you or when my course is out or whatever. So definitely jump on my website, nathancavaleri.com/tour. And that's where you can put your email in. I will not spam you. I don't spam, but you just be notified when there's a tour or when there's a release, and also the workshop. Register your interest, which is sorry, not the workshop, the course. Which you can register there, and then pop in on Twitch and TikTok. Like, this is where we just hang, we talk, and I absolutely love it. So, and if you want to support what I do, I do have a Patreon as well. So
amazing. All of that's in the episode notes below. You have lived an incredible life and will continue to live an incredible life. You're very inspiring and empowering. And thank you so much for having this chat.
Thanks for the good vibes. Appreciate it. Yeah.
I love how Nathan talks about his relationship with fear. He realized that his anxiety was often a response to running from his fear. Now, instead of resisting fear, he lets it come and go like any other emotion, knowing it will eventually pass. I think that's such a powerful lesson. So often we suppress the emotions we don't want to feel, but Nathan encourages us to gently face them instead. Because when we do, we create space to heal, move forward, and ultimately flourish. As a result, Nathan's anxiety has improved dramatically, allowing him to embrace new adventures and challenges without being held back. When we stop fighting our emotions, we stop giving them power over our lives. As Nathan says, what's your relationship with fear? Thank you for listening to the Funny and Failure podcast, exploring the deeper side of comedy and life.